Q&A with herself and Liam just around, how the experience has been to date for trays, and then also we'll open it up for people to ask questions. So if you want to put your questions into the chat, that would be great. So we'll start from there. So I'll be talking for about 10 minutes. Liam will be talking to us for about 10 minutes. And then Niamh will take us through the process for about 10 minutes. And to close today, then we'll have Ona Foylan, the director of the Irish MedTech and with Outback. So to start off with, over 15 years ago now, the MÓR benchmark, which is an Excel-based spreadsheet, or was developed. Really, I suppose, one of the more affordable ways of delivering what was, the Shingo would have been there. There had been a lot of approach around lean practices, and this was very much a linear process of, here is the operational excellence projects we need to implement, or we would like to implement, and here is a way of doing it, and here is a way of measuring ourselves as we progress through that. Then in 2019, 2020, the group of companies, and this was all industry-led development, the original MÓR was, and then the MÓR framework as it is today, which is a digital framework, is also industry-led. So we've had companies like Teleflex and Boston Scientific, West Pharma, a number of companies sitting on an advanced manufacturing working group, really talking about what it is that we need to do to now bring this up to date and make it very applicable, and make it also a circular type of system where you make your improvements, you measure what you're doing, but you're also using really a people-centric process to be able to go and make and continue with those improvements, and also make it enterprise at enterprise level rather than just within a one-off project level. So this is across the board that you can implement this framework within your company. So it's really emphasis on organizational learning. So I'm going to just use the video that we have here to introduce the framework to you.
The old ways of working don't really apply anymore. We need to develop better ways of thinking.
Irish MedTech and Engineering Advanced Manufacturing Working Group, in tandem with the Irish MedTech Skillnet, have recognised the need to move with the times and to advance towards digital transformation. They've developed a programme that is more people-centred. It's cloud-based.
It's made up of a number of different strategies, but they're all designed to come together into one overarching framework to help businesses and organisations perform better into the future.
The whole MÓR Enterprise framework would be that when you're going down the road of digitisation, and that's involving Skillnet's elements as well, it's very important in the initial stage to lean out the process and to make sure that we're not digitising waste.
It's really geared around a hub and a spoke model. The hub is very much centred on the basic construct of what drives high performance systems. Each of the spokes they're designed around the emerging strategies and trends that are driving organisations into the future, such as sustainability, talent development, commercial excellence, and digitalisation.
As facilitator for the MÓR Enterprise Excellence programme, my role will be to work with each of the companies for the people that they send with us to ensure that they're equipped to roll out the programme. So ultimately we'll be working with the champions to ensure that the system that we've developed as in the MÓR Enterprise Excellence programme is rolled out effectively and efficiently and implemented across the site.
What's really different about this approach, it no longer talks about tools or solutions. It instead gets people to start thinking about their own unique problems and how to approach them differently.
I really feel that MÓR can give them that ultimate advantage, and I think it's a really great opportunity for companies to take a look and see exactly how they can continue to grow and flourish in this current environment.
What's really different about this is embracing the true potential that exists in every single person that is part of your organisation. Be empowered around the processes that they own, to get everybody excelling towards performance, to involve everyone every day in solving problems and continuously improving performance, and to really make that part of your own DNA, something that you can be proud of, to build a system here that is going to stand the test of time, that is going to drive performance well into the future. That's the potential.
The MÓR Enterprise Excellence framework has been developed in collaboration with the Advanced Manufacturing Working Group in IBEC and the Irish MedTech Skillnet. The Irish MedTech Skillnet have developed a training programme to ensure that companies who have already gotten involved now have a proven model to sustain their growth and to deliver enterprise excellence across their organisation. Companies that get involved will see those benefits as the companies that are already involved are achieving. So for companies, whether it be an SME, a high potential startup, a large organisation or a multinational, what's at the centre of your organisation is your people. And to develop those people, we have a programme that can help you achieve those results. Contact the Irish MedTech Skillnet.ie.
The old ways of working.
So to develop this, we knew that we needed to look into how to do it. We had the MÓR model in place, as I say, and we developed really a framework around that as its core. So at the core of the MÓR model was, as I say, lean methodologies of how to achieve your enterprise excellence projects. But this was a more comprehensive and more, as I say, circular approach, making sure that the continual improvement was ongoing. So we've worked with a number of different providers to ensure that we were able to develop this framework as it is today. So we have Liam here today from Blue Lake talking about the 5 Ps of enterprise excellence, which Liam will go through in detail. Then we have LearnOpt, who have developed the digital platform. And then within that digital platform, we've also developed an e-learning module, which is part of the actual framework embedded in it. And that's really something that comes with the framework itself. So you have the potential to make sure you can go back and reference or check what it is you're doing on each occasion. So it's important, I suppose, to see that this has been a really well thought out, comprehensive development of this programme. So as I say, Liam is going to talk to us through the 5 Ps of excellence, which the MÓR framework is based on. And there is facilitated training that goes along with that, and we will talk through that. And then Niamh will talk through the platform itself and those e-learning modules that I just referred to. The process of how to engage in the MÓR Enterprise Excellence onboarding journey is, first of all, we have implementation training, which happens, and we have, which I'll talk through at the end of today's session. We have one in May, I think it is, in Limerick, and that's an in-person half-day programme. Then we integrate MÓR into your company, and this is specific within your own company, and that's really to, really train up the champions that are going to drive MÓR for your organisation, and this is the integration of it. And then there is MÓR to optimise it. There is B2B supports from industry. So, for example, Cathal O'Reilly, who wrote the paper on the cusp of excellence, around which the methodologies of the MÓR framework and the 5 Ps is based, and integrated onto the actual framework itself. And both Liam and Niamh will talk through that, but it's really to optimize it within your industry. So there's a mentorship side as well, and that's industry to industry mentorship. So I'm going to go, and Liam, I'm going to hand over to yourself.
Thanks, Anne. Apologies, I was on mute there. Morning, everyone. You might just flick onto the next screen, and I'm just going to talk through a little bit of the 5 Ps to give you a flavour. So, I suppose, look at it. I'm with Blue Lake High Performance Partners. So, high performance is where I suppose my passion is people and performance. So the MÓR Excellence framework very much lines up to my own personal purpose. So when I met Anne and Cathal, it very much lined up. Look at it, I suppose I work with a lot of companies in different sectors, and everybody is looking for that organizational edge, be it at individual level, be it at collective team level, or the overall pride in the organizational jersey. So this is quite common, and I think what Cathal and the people in the advanced manufacturing group have brought together here is a really impressive framework, and as I said, I think it can really deliver high performance. So if we want to flick to the next slide, and so what is it? I mean, ultimately it's about the 5 Ps, which I'll cover in the next slide, but it's very people focused and people centric. The people are at the heart of everything that we do, and the MOR Excellence framework, MOR Enterprise Excellence, very much lines up to that. It also has the learning zone and the performance zone overlapping, so it's not that, I suppose old style would have been, we have them on the performance zone and we take them out to train them. This very much is that continuous improvement, ongoing improvements that you're looking for daily, and all the time looking to tweak your processes, tweak how you do things, tweak your standards to make it bigger and better as you move along. And again, as I said, the journey that you can go on, I think through this MOR Excellence framework is very, very good, very good. So if you might just take down through the next one, I suppose the first thing we do really is we meet the leadership team, because it's like any if you're going to bring in a high performance system, ultimately leadership has to buy in, and it has to be important to the leader, because then their people underneath leadership will buy in. And the 5 Ps really, it starts off with purpose. So I suppose it's really important. A lot of the work that we do is building a purpose, mission, vision, and values for companies, and revisiting those. And this is very much aligned to the first P here. It's really just aligning everybody to the company purpose. And if my individual purpose connects with the company that I work for, it makes me a different it brings me to a different level of performance. So just ensuring that you have that common purpose, and you can link the individuals to that common purpose for the company, and the core values and the North Star that you're looking to go on. The second one is people. As we know, giving people clarity of goals is really, really important. Connecting people at all levels so as that there's no fracture between frontline teams, support teams, and management teams, and making sure that's as seamless. And again, an important part of that is that the decision making is made at the appropriate level. So it's really empowering your frontline teams to make decisions that will improve performance ultimately. Next up is process. Obviously, it's just always looking for the optimum process. Some processes can be automated, some processes can be, some processes can be updated, and some processes can be removed completely because of the level of performance and the performance of your people. So it's really all the time looking to see what are my processes and how can we make them better on an ongoing, regular basis. Finally, I guess the fourth one is performance, and really, people play differently when you keep the score. So you got to make sure all the time you're evaluating. The reason why we're putting in MOR Enterprise Excellence is because it's going to give us an organizational edge, and it's going to make us perform better. So we got to make sure that absolutely we've all got the scorecard. So the output are. Finally, I guess the fourth one is performance, and really, people play differently when you keep the score. So you got to make sure all the time you're evaluating. The reason why we're putting in MOR Enterprise Excellence is because it's going to give us an organizational edge, and it's going to make us perform better. So we got to make sure that absolutely we've all got the scorecard. So the output or the lagging indicator is the scorecard, but there's an awful lot of in-process measures that will tell us actually we know that we're doing all the right things, because our leading indicators when we're in action are all reading well. So it's really just focusing on that what we're doing under the other 4 Ps is bringing us that exceptional performance that we're looking for at the organizational level. And finally, practice is just quite simply, always looking for the next level. And it's back to that continuous improvement. How do we show up? How do we look at ways of adopting best practices? If we're doing something well over here, how do we ensure that there's collaboration across the organization to get the required results? So again, a lot, I would say in all of this, I can align it to everything I do in the overall high performance arena with other customers and other sectors. So I think, what's been produced here by Cathal and the Advanced Manufacturing Group is a really impressive tool. And I suppose it's my ultimate belief that if people do bring more excellence to life in their company, it will give them an organizational edge, and it will deliver high performance on a more consistent basis. I suppose when it was introduced previously, one of the challenges was it was spreadsheets and trying to pull it all together. So I'm going to hand you over to Niamh, because there's a really slick platform that sits behind this that Niamh will take you through, that helps you, I suppose, understand the MÓR Transform platform. So over to you, Niamh.
Thanks very much, Liam. You can move on to the next slide there, Anne. So just to introduce myself, I'm on the team with the Irish MedTech Skillnet with Anne O'Connell, and I have also been on the MÓR Excellent Framework team for some time now. So today I'd like to just take you through the MÓR Transform digital platform, explain what it is, go through a few of the features and what it can do for you and your organization through your MOR Excellence journey. So understanding then the MOR Transform tool, what is it? It is an online digital assessment platform. It's about leveraging the 5 Ps that Liam was talking about earlier on there, which is purpose, process, people, performance, and practice. And under these 5 Ps, there is principles where you make assessments in your organization, where you gauge where you are and where you need to be. So there is help with the workflow there as well, which is embedded within the MOR Excellence framework. Under this workflow, we use grasp, assess, set, and commit. And this is where it helps you really try and focus on where you need to make improvements in your organization. And then there's always areas there where you can go back to and check your information. It's all kept there on the platform as well. So along with the digital assessment tool, there is also an embedded e-learning module, which we have just developed. This is self-paced. You can go to it at any time, and it helps you understand how you do an assessment. And for any other users who come onto the MOR Transform tool later on, you can direct them over to the e-learning module as well. And this is where they can learn a bit more about how to do an assessment on the platform. So if you move on to the next slide there, Anne, please. So what we're looking at here is the assessment portal of the MOR Transform tool. So as you can see there, the 5 Ps are presented to you, and underneath are different principles where you make your assessments. So you're aligning your assessments to the 5 dimensions, which is really a core part of the MOR Excellence program. When you go into a principle, you'll be set with the workflow, and you'll be entering in information of where you are. There's a scorecard there where you're looking at how much evidence is there to where if you're knowing, living, or doing or living the situation you're in. And it adds up, and over time, as you can see at the very top there, there's a maturity rating, and you can see where your actual position is to where your target is. And this is done over, this can be seen over different quarters. Now it can be broken out into each teams as well if you want to do it that way. And there's an all teams view that you can come back to. So it's all about setting measurable targets, and you also have to be very honest with yourself and where you are in your organization. Because if you put in, the wrong information, or you think you really are a lot further on than you actually are, you're not going to get the right information out of it at the end of the day. So just to make clear as well, all the results are available to you, and when you log in, it's all real-time information as well. So you can move on to the next slide there, Anne, please. So what we're looking at here then is one of the graphs that's presented to you in the dashboard function. So you can see here one of the red line on little triangle is actually where you could be at, and then the target is the purple section. So it's where you need to be in those 5 dimensions. So the dashboard does have a lot more features than just the assessment portal. So there is the introduction section, which will get you started on your MOR Transform journey. So you can go in there, read a little bit more about the MOR Transform platform, and then you can do your e-learning module to grasp where you need to get to for making an assessment. There's also a help section, and the help section has been added in with a scenario guide, just so when you're logging into the MOR Transform tool, you kind of understand where you can start from. This tool really is something that you can make of yourself. It is quite broad enough that you can do it by teams, by organizations, by sites, or it can just be a personal evaluation of where you are and where you want to be in your organization along the MOR Excellence framework. Then there is the assessments mode that we've seen earlier on. This is where you click in and you can add in information and your target and set your targets, and you can go back to that at any time. You can also toggle between all teams view and evidence view, and this allows you to see your organization as a whole and how you've been getting along on your journey as you've been making more and more assessments over time. And then there's also your priority plan area. So once you come to the commit section of the GRASS set commit workflow, you will be able to put in actionable targets. And this is like a notebook section where you can go back and you can check, okay, you know, what are our targets for this quarter and how are we going to implement them as we go along. There's also a wiki entry section, and this is for in-company knowledge. So this is if you have any best practices that you can add in over time, and it's like a diary. You can go back to it again and again, and you build on it the more you use MÓR Transform. Next slide there, Anne, please. So as mentioned there earlier, your workflow within making an assessment is grasp, assess, set, and commit. So what does this mean? So with grasp, there is a bunch of supporting questions when you go into making an assessment, and this is under every principle. Now you can print off these questions, but this section is done offline. So you'll sit with your team, and this is where you'll really grasp where you are, and then you'll assess where you want to be. So you're looking at your ideal conditions and the gap in between where you are and where you're going forward. And then you're going to set some measurable targets. This can also be recorded through the assessment process. And then lastly, you have committing to improvement. So this is in your developing priority plan area, and this is where you put down your key actions and then your expected benefits for your journey. Thanks, Anya. Next slide, please. So just to show you, here is an example of the charts that are available to you over time when you're entering information. You know, there is some visuals that you can access and it really give you an idea rather than just numbers of where you're at. Next picture there, please, Anne. And then here you can see the assessment area of the MÓR Transform tool. And as you're entering in your different assessments, you can see there the different colors, the red, the blue, the green, you know, where you're successfully putting in your evidence, and where in red, where you haven't really set any targets yet and where you need to work on. But you can also start with one of the P's if you want to, but then you'll probably find it's better if you decide to work on all of the 5 dimensions across the MÓR Transform tool, just to get an assess where you are across the 5 P's and what you really need to work on. And then you can pass on to the next slide. And then lastly, we have the e-learning module here, which I did explain earlier on, is embedded in the tool. It's very user-friendly and it can be self-paced and you can go back to it at any time. So it brings you through the different elements of the MÓR Transform tool, what the features are, what they mean as well. And it is only about 45 minutes to complete, so it really doesn't take all that much time to go through. And you can access this through the introduction section as mentioned earlier on. So it's about peer-to-peer skills development and supporting the MÓR Transform tool. Next slide there, Anne, please. Oh, and just to mention before I pass on to Therese O'Connor from SteriPack, all of your data and privacy is kept secure on the cloud-based platform. Any more information on that you can also find on the website itself, or you can reach out to any one of us and we can answer any questions you might have about how your data is kept secure and the privacy within your own company for the information you enter. So thanks very much. And I'll pass over to actually Anne O'Connell to do an introduction for Therese O'Connor.
So so very delighted here today to have Therese as well, and thank you very much, Niamh and Liam. So Therese is the site director with SteriPack and is in the process at the moment of everything that we've talked about already today, implementing the MÓR Transform within the company, but also working alongside Niamh and Therese's team across the organization, and her leadership and her champions are working on this. So Therese, I'll pass over to yourself.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Anne. You can go to the next slide, Anne, and I'll just give a little bit of background on who we are for those of you that are not familiar with us. So SteriPack Ireland is based in Mullingar. We're here since 2019, we've been setting up the business here in Mullingar. Steripack, some people will be familiar with them. We have a long history in the medical device industry, I guess, and we've taken a few twists and turns on the journey. But since 2019, we've been setting up the site here in Mullingar. Obviously, everybody's aware 2019 through to 2022 was COVID years and pandemic. So we were beginning our journey at a very difficult time. And during that period, we were producing face masks and we were supporting the requirements of the pandemic. So we were establishing a business here at that time, and we just had to pivot and turn and adapt. We're a small group here in Mullingar, there's 23 employees, and we've been growing that since 2019. Obviously, towards the end of the pandemic, decision was made that we needed to pivot and change our business again. And because of our legacy in the medical device industry, a decision was taken at that time that we'd re-enter the medical packaging business. So that's our current business, and we're back into that for the last 2 or 3 years. For the first 2 years, we've been obviously investing in the business, setting up the site, investing in equipment, designing equipment, very focused on our processes, as you would do for any manufacturing business when you're setting it up. A lot of time and effort is put into that. If you don't have your processes established, you don't have a business really, and you need to begin that journey of onboarding your customers. So with all of that in mind, we were trying to figure out, okay, how we're going to start this business, grow this business, what's the vision for the company? And I had been familiar with the MÓR model from previous. So the original model, I'd done some work with that. I had it in the back of my mind as well as we were coming through and developing the current operations for the site. So we're starting from a very nice place, I guess, when we're setting up our business when it comes in the context of the MÓR framework. Because we can set our culture and set the theme and the way we want to run our business from the very beginning. So we don't have a legacy and a history that we have to detangle and change a culture. So with all of that in mind, we pitched for investing and onboarding the MÓR model for the business because we felt that it fit, obviously, for the medtech. It's designed and built for by people from medtech, for people in medtech, and we're starting back into that business ourselves. So rather than reinventing the wheel and trying to develop all those systems and practices ourselves, why not on board with the MÓR Enterprise framework? And really, that's the way we're viewing it. It's a framework for running any business, no matter what business or industry you're in. You have to address all these elements. And as the guys have said earlier, whether it's your culture, your managerial culture, your business development, even the social, the environmental, the sustainability, the digitization, they're all the things. We've great ideas here all day, every day, and we try and start things and we drop things and then we have to pivot and then we have to move. So I think the framework, with a framework like this, it does exactly what's on what it says. It's a framework that you can run any business on, and it puts a bit of structure on your thinking and how you go about starting up your business. And equally for an established business, it can help you to reassess where you're at. Every business has the same elements to it. Therefore, the assessment is applicable whether you're established or a new business. So for us, it really is about getting our culture right from the very beginning. We have a really nice opportunity here with the 20-odd people in the business. Hopefully, they're the future leaders of our business as we grow over the next 5-10 years. And if we can embed that culture of innovative thinking, collaboration with customers, and that's really what the model does. When you think about the 4 Ps, or the 5 Ps, it talks about your customers and the people are at the center of all of that, and what's your purpose, and how to pull all of those elements together. Like I said, we've great ideas here around sustainability and digitalization. There's a cost to everything. Everything takes time, effort, energy, and all of a sudden there's a crisis and we're all gone in a different direction. But then when you come back to the model, your goals, your objectives, it helps you to realign on that all the time and keep coming back to that checkpoint. And you have your score and the actions to drive the improvements in all the elements of your business. So we have started the journey, and I'll talk a little bit more about that with Liam. I suppose we started the journey a couple of months ago, and we had our first workshop, and I suppose we had a few great examples during that, before and after it. We brought in the management team as part of that. And the penny does really begin to drop when you start doing your initial assessment. And I think that was kind of the change point for us, and everybody got it at that point. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that came about. But it's through that focused analysis of your business and the model driving you down that road of actually really taking time out and stop, think, make that, you're doing that assessment and grasp it, and you're going, actually what I thought it was is not really what it is on the ground at all. And the model guides you through that purpose, or that questioning process, that thinking, that taking time out. How do you think about what we need to do next, and does it align with the goals and objectives of our business? And that's the first P, obviously, makes you focus on that. So yeah, they're kind of the reasons we went about it, because we're starting from the very beginning here. Like I said, we have a really nice opportunity to get our culture right and bring our people along the journey and develop those people into the future leaders of our business.
Thanks very much, Trace. And I am going to pass over to yourself and Liam to have a discussion around it, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. And then before we finish, we'll have Owen just close out the today. But just one of the things that people do ask the question obviously on is around the licensing package. So we do have information on all of that. So, the process is you access the MÓR Transform, you then do your assessment and planning, you have your tailored training, which we've talked about here this morning, in which, Trace has updated us on. And then there's also a lot of networking opportunities where we do run events, and, you can get to meet other companies, but also it opens you up to the business-to-business mentorship, which we've built into the system. And then there is continuous support as well, ongoing, and we are always available for that. And so for the funded rate of the standard package, which I'll talk through what that includes, and the next slide, is 3,500 for multinationals, and for SMEs it's 1,500, and that's for 3 users within a license. So just so you can see that more clearly, what you get for the license fee is the MÓR implementation, the integration within your company. So I do have a date, so it's May 22nd, 9:30 to 1 p.m. in person in Thomond Park in Limerick. So to enable it as easy access, and this will be ran alongside ourselves and with Liam delivering the MÓR implementation, and obviously Niamh and myself will be there as well to work with organisations who would be interested in this. So that's the first part of the license fee. The second part is integrating it into your company. This is really training up your champions and really getting them embedded on how MÓR works. And then the optimization, which is working along with industry mentors. So as I say, Cathal O'Reilly is Trace's mentor. So and has been very integral to this group, but also has West and Boston Scientific and Alcon and loads of other companies who've piloted this program for us as well. So this is really, really important. And then Cook Medical is one of the companies who has also used the MÓR model. And then we would have went back to Cook, who have now integrated or is working on the framework and has given us loads of feedback. So any kind of changes we've ever needed to make, we go back to industry to get insights into that. And all the funding for the development of this has come from Skillnet Ireland, and we're one of the 70 Skillnet Ireland networks, and through that we were able to develop this. And then just to say as well, there is optional training which is also in company, and this is training that we would arrange through the network for your company, and that's where Blue Lake will come on site and work further with you on your high performance, just really to ensure that you're continuing that work to keep it going. So I'm gonna stop sharing now. I'll pass over to Owen before we finish up, but it's really just to get, I suppose, an insight in more depth as to what is happening. And I would also like to open this up for questions. But Trace, to yourself and Liam and Owen, if you'd like to come in on this, if you as well. And also Niamh, if you have any sort of questions. But really, I suppose it's to get a sense of the actual journey that you've taken alongside the networks itself. So, Trace, you've given us the why, which is great, but now just, I suppose, to get that insight of how that's been for you working, you know, we'll say with Liam when himself and Jane have come on site, working with the networks, working with the actual framework itself, just to get a sense of that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, we've had our initial workshop. Like I said, we've also done the masterclass separately to that. But the mentorship, I think, is critical in this, because we can start a lot of things and get distracted and move and not come back to it. But I think the mentorship and having the guys guide us through the first couple of rounds of this to get get a firm grasp on the concepts and how we should be going about the assessments. And getting everybody thinking in the same direction. It's been very valuable for us. And like I said, that first workshop that we had, we came in thinking, we have done a lot of work before now, and we're in a great place in certain areas. For example, the process, we would have thought that we were very strong in that. But actually, when we started drilling on it and really asked the questions of ourselves, our score began to drop quite significantly for very valid reasons, and things that we thought we were doing really, really well. And that was just amongst the leadership team, I guess. And this is the other side of it, the employee engagement piece. It's not just our opinion that counts anymore. We now have taken that to the wider population in the group. The wider population is 20 plus people. It's not difficult for us to do it, I guess. And that's why this is a really nice opportunity for us, because we can engage a lot of our employees on it for the stage we're at in our development. And actually, when we put their opinion on top of it, our score changes significantly again. And then that's the score that we now need to start working with and bringing that to the next level and assigning the actions to that. So with Liam and Jane and the management team, I think you could see from when we started in the morning to the afternoon session, the body language had changed in the room. The way we were assessing the questions had changed by the afternoon session. And I think the other part of it was, so we left the workshop and we worked on the information after the workshop that we had gathered, and the scores were put together and get it loaded into the system as well. But in the few weeks after that, we were beginning our goals and objectives. So our year begins in June forward. So we were having a look at our goals and objectives. And within 5 minutes of starting that process, we were all thinking back to the way we had answered the questions, where we had doubts, where we thought we were doing well, aligning that with the goals and objectives. And now you can see very clearly where the areas we need to focus on, what the actions, where the investment needed to be for the next year. So in terms of working it into the day-to-day running of the business, the synergy is just there. It's obvious from the get-go for us.
And I might just come in behind you, Trace. I mean, in fairness, you've been a huge advocate of MÓR, and it's fantastic. And I think that's really important. You have to really want it, and you have to commit to it. Because I have no questions over the ability for MÓR to deliver organizational advantage. None. There's always going to be challenges coming down the track. So you got to make sure that you're equipped as best as you possibly can. And I think this is a wonderful framework and tool and high performance system that will enable you to do that. But so I think leadership commitment is a key part of it. You have to want to do it. It is a busy environment that you find yourself in. We find it all the time. You come into a room, you come out with you can feel the excitement. I could feel the opportunity and excitement building over the course of the day to say, God, look at the opportunity we have here, here, and here. But committing to it and building that into and weaving it in as part of your BAU is critical, because it has to become something that sits within how you do things around here. And I think that's key. And equally, I know, as Trey said, it's small, but I think it's easily scalable, provided you put the relevant champions in the relevant areas that will do that element of work for you. Because unless you're checking, you're sense checking because honesty of where you're at is so important here. So the champions need to be your temperature check to say, yeah, that's what they think it is. Is that really what it is, or does it need to be adjusted a little bit? And there's loads of scope in the percentages, because we don't want to be getting into someone saying, is it 48% or is it 51%? There's enough of scope in terms of, no, that's actually where we sit. But I think it will deliver, but there is a requirement that people commit, and the honesty of where you're at, it will, the model will pick you up wherever you're at, but the honesty of understanding, sometimes we, I suppose my experience in sporting organizations can be, oh no, nothing to see here, we're all brilliant here. Whereas actually you need to be able to honestly assess, because, when you talk about assessing, that allows you to set where you want to get to, and then you can commit to, if I'm here and I'm trying to get to here, then all of my energy goes in the bit in the middle, which I commit to say, I'm going to go after this now and see where I am at the end of the next quarter. And it is a quarter on quarter trajectory. But as I said, I think it's fantastic to see what Trades has taken on over the last few months, because I think she knows it's going to make a significant difference. And also, there's other sites. So, Trades is an ambition that in the overall SteriMed organization, that she's able to go back and say, actually, look what we've uncovered here. I think this could make a real difference in your other 6 sites. So that's a potential as well.
Yeah, and just on that, Liam, you're correct, because the other sites are obviously they're aware that we're on this journey, I guess, and they're watching with bated breath to see how we get on with it. But even apart from that, we're now part of a bigger group, like you said, which is the SteriMed group. We were acquired in October. I should have said that earlier, but and that can be quite daunting for a small company. But actually, when they look at this and the model, and they're rolling out values, and we talked about the purpose earlier, and your mission and your vision. While we had those at site level, we didn't have the values piece when we were talking about that, but they're now coming from a corporate level. So we need to take those and cascade down into those. But you can see now, if our vision and our mission and our values don't align, you have to stop, you have to think, you have to reassess, and we have to make that work and figure out what we have to do to walk the walk when it comes to those values. So, and then when we're promoting that, and this is the way we're going to assess that, they're actually now looking at it as a way of cascading the values from group down into all their manufacturing sites. So the synergies for the model, there's nothing new in the model. It's just the convenience of it, I think, and the online platform is so intuitive, and it takes a little bit of time out. Okay, there is an investment in time, but you should be investing that time anyway. And if you invest that time, you're going to get the return on it. But what it does is it's that snapshot. You can go, you can look, you can check. If you're in the middle of your goals and objectives and you're trying to figure something out, you can pull it up really easy. You're not trying to find a spreadsheet that you save somewhere. Platform is there, it's live, and everybody's aware of what the score is. But the synergies on the system and what it does from running your business and the model and the framework, it's nothing new. It's just a really, really nice way of being able to navigate through all the elements of it.
So technology left me down. So and so anyway, I just wanted to, thanks very much, Trace and Liam, for that. I want to open it up to questions. And I suppose one question that I received via LinkedIn was really the interest was in learning how quality assurance and compliance requirements have been built into the excellence model. Now, I suppose I can answer some of this, but I'd like to get your thoughts on it, Trace and Liam, from what you would say there around that, because people have had experience of a lot of frameworks over years, and that was one of the questions that they had for me.
It came up as part of our discussions, I guess, and when we were doing that first workshop, and it came up in the process and the standard work methods, and do you have processes and procedures in place for everything? We said, yeah, we have a wonderful quality management system. Of course we do. But then when we started drilling into it, and it really gets down to it makes you start scratching the surface, and do you really have all those procedures in place for every element of your business? And of course we didn't. We had, there was elements of it missing. So while it doesn't explicitly call out quality management requirements, and a bit like it doesn't explicitly call out any of the lean tools or the vehicles for achieving certain things, I guess, but it actually addresses the full spectrum of your business, not just quality. Quality is baked into how we run our business, I guess, but it will make us think and challenge all of those processes that we believe are standard processes and are great. But actually, when you start really asking the question, it'll drive that continuous improvement cycle all the time into the quality management system. So everything you do around it is feeding that quality in everything we do, I suppose, and that kind of quality culture to get it baked in alongside the excellence as well.
Great. Okay. And Liam, I suppose one of the things that, this isn't, your first rodeo with regard to working with companies on implementing really high performance culture, but also high performance activities. And I'd just like to get a sense from yourself, you have worked with loads of companies across down through the years to ensure that this type of process is put in place. Do you think it changes, I suppose, not just alone a culture, but a line of sight for companies? One of the things that Trey's talked about is, we all thought we were doing great, or some of us thought we were doing great, and then all of a sudden it gives you that insight to go, actually, maybe we're not doing as good as we thought, but also everybody then understands. It's not just maybe one part of the company that understands how, the performance is within that particular area.
Yeah, listen, I mean, from the first day I sat with yourself and Cahill up in Teleflex, and we were going through the 5 Ps and the model. I mean, I was saying, like, it lined up to everything that I would see, but like I've never worked with a company where you go out and they have all of those under review. They generally bring you in for one of them. They might say, look, we have a challenge with our people here. We're not doing this right. We're not doing that right. And the amount of work we're doing currently on purpose, vision, mission, and values with companies is off the charts, because it's not really about shareholder value or profits. It's really about how do we connect our people to their purpose, to the company purpose, because the war for talent is huge now. So there's an awful lot of work on it, but all of that is ran sort of individually. Whereas what MÓR does is it brings it all together. And not does it just bring it all together, it actually puts it into a format and a platform that says, I can look in quarter and quarter and see exactly how I'm doing, because, the same challenge that is going to exist with MÓR Enterprise Excellence exists with each of the companies, where we go in, we get them all buzzed up, we do a wonderful 1-day program, 2-day program, 3-day program, and next thing they go back and work gets in the way, So how do you make sure it integrates it? And I think there's a lovely opportunity here to integrate it back in. So as I said, I believe in the way the model is set up. I believe in the high performance system that's being produced here. But I also want people to be aware that you have to sign up and you have to go all in on it, because I don't think you can touch off it and say I'll do a small bit here. You really have to go after it. If you go after it, I think you'll get the returns. And it's like anything, you'll get the return on your investment. If you make a small investment, you get a small return. If you make a big investment, you get a big return. And it's around, really getting your leadership and your champions and anyone that's around it to go after it. Because, the upside potential here is significant in my view.
Okay, great, brilliant. Thanks very much, Liam. I'm going to open it up to the floor for any questions, and then Owen, I'm going to pass over to yourself to give us your sort of final thoughts on it as well. So has anyone any questions that they'd like to ask, or any confirmation? If there is anything, we're happy. Just contact Niamh and myself, either of us, or the Irish MedTech Skillnet, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. And we will share the recordings afterwards as well. So, Owen, have you any questions you'd like to ask? Liam and Trey's and Niamh on this, or would you just like to talk us through your thoughts?
A question I had, I don't know whether for Therese or for Liam, but people on the call, they're maybe considering signing up to this. And in terms, Liam, you've worked with multiple organizations. Therese, you're going through this, you're a considerable way into the process. I'm wondering, are there common mistakes that people are making, Liam, in terms of maybe signing up for this, and they're saying, oh, sign up for the framework and we're on our journey, and it'll all be sort of straightforward and easy? Would you have any advice for companies if they are considering embarking upon it, or maybe mistakes the companies that have made along their journeys that everyone else could learn from?
Well, I think the key one is that leadership commitment. Nothing happens in a company unless leadership buys in. So, you can see the passion that Therese has for bringing this to life in Steripack. And that's a critical start point, because then that allows that everything kicks off from there, and even when we sat in the first meeting, maybe one or two were saying, will we or won't we interested? Actually, no, we are. We're all in here. So, let's be clear, we're all in here. There's no question mark. So that part of it, and I must say, throughout the process that we ran with Therese and the team, they were very open and honest. They were quite happy to say, you know, we're 20% where we want to be there. We're 50% there. We're 80% there. So there was no about saying, you know, let's try and put up a sort of a frontier. There's not. No, let's give it warts and all. And I think that's really important. And then when we go away, you got to take it on and you got to work on it. So they'd be the three things I'd see on as being critical. I don't know, Trace, you might have something else to add, but that'd be my thoughts on it. If you're going for it.
No, it's exactly that. And even trying to schedule the workshops, Liam gets frustrated because we'll book in and then all of a sudden there's some other reason that we can't do it.
Something is blown up somewhere.
Daily life or business as usual does kind of trump sometimes, but you have to go back and you have to go, no, we're doing it every day. We can keep kicking this can out, or we just bite the bullet, as Liam says. We have to grab this and run with it because the value is there in the long run. And if we get this right from the beginning, it's completely scalable, as Liam said earlier.
Brilliant. And we have a question from John Walsh.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. No, just to your point there, Trace, and I suppose, you know, talking to other people in the company about going on this journey, what do you see as a time commitment and I suppose the duration that you would see, you know, the senior level putting into this?
Yeah, so the big commitment is initially is the workshops. It's a day you have to take time out, or a day or a half a day or whatever the time is needed. But after that, it's about embedding it is the key, I think, and integrating it are the key words here. It shouldn't be additional to the day-to-day work that we're doing. There's no timeline, there's no endpoint on this because it becomes how you run your business is what we're hoping for. It shouldn't be an effort to take the time out to plug the data into the system. After that, you're just running your business and making sure it's helped you to making sure that you're working the right stuff and that aligns with the business goals and objectives. So the execution and improving the scores should be what you're doing in your day-to-day business. And then when you come back in the next quarter or 6 months or whenever you do your next assessment, the results of that should be reflected in the half a day that you take to honestly answer those questions again and reassess and go again and drive yourself to the next level. So for us, it's that buy-in is where the effort needs to go first. It's the coaching, it's the mentoring, embedding that in the culture of the management and going, if we do this, if we keep going after this in the long game, this shouldn't become a burden at all. It should be that reassessment is the additional effort that will come over time. After that, you're working on the right stuff and it's got your focus in the right areas for your business. There's, at the end of the day, the business is there for a reason, but this is just keeping you focused and bringing your people on the journey as well, because that's a lot of the time the piece that gets forgotten, I guess. So you should see the results of that in your scores at the end.
Super, Trace. And Owen, I will, John, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, thanks very much for that.
Brilliant, no problem. And one other thing, I suppose, the MÓR was built based on the fact that the Shingo was in place and was a very expensive investment for companies. And, you know, the MÓR model itself had the bronze, silver and gold awards as well. So, and based on the whole sort of lean approach. But, you know, a lot of companies, and we do lean training as well, but lean is something that a lot of companies have well implemented at this stage. And this is really to take it to the next level and do that really comprehensive integration and go back around again. And it's continuous improvement because the world is always changing. And I suppose that's one of the key things here to, I suppose, you know, that we really have bore in mind with the development of the framework. So, Owen, I'll hand over to yourself.
And I think what's brilliant as well, Anne, is that it's been built in a way that like it's sort of a hub and spoke module and modularized. So over time, as new, you know, operate or, you know, areas of continuous improvement emerge in business. At the moment, we're all grappling with sustainability and, you know, implementation of CSRD and all of these other requirements as they come in. The model can expand and scale and has been designed to do so. So I think it's just a really, really useful model. So thank you so much. Thanks to all the speakers today. I think what's not in doubt is here in Ireland, like we just have to strive for continuous improvement and operational excellence to retain our position as a global medtech hub and to make sure that we're responding to competitiveness challenges and that we're ready for, you know, the next wave of technology and digitization in our operations, and to make sure that we're positioned, you know, for success. And this, as Anna said, is the culmination of 10 or 12 years worth of expertise and learning from industry, and has been built up over the last decade plus. So it's absolutely wonderful, you know, to be here today, to listen, to see that the old MÓR framework has now been updated and modernized and evolved, you know, into a fully cloud-based model of enterprise excellence. So like to bring it to this level is just something that I know I'm incredibly proud of on behalf of the industry, and it shows what, you know, everyone putting their shoulders to the wheel and collaborating together and sharing their intellectual property and their time, you know, with the view to making it cost effective. That's the big part of this. Anne mentioned the costs of other options in this space. So to make it cost effective, best in class, continuous improvement roadmap for your company. And I've no doubt it's going to be of particular interest, not only to multinationals, but in particular as well to maybe some of the smaller organizations that mightn't be able to, you know, pull the model or pull the book from a larger organization. So look, it's been developed by members and leaders over the past 10 years. So as the trade association, as Irish MedTech, we completely endorse this. You know, it's an absolute no-brainer, both from a cost and from, you know, a best-in-class perspective. And we'd really encourage people on the call today to, you know, to get involved, to suss it out. You know, today's a bit about tire kicking, probably. The next session down in Limerick in May will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, and we would encourage people to get involved, to stay with us. But if I can, Anne's asked me to thank a couple of people, and definitely, you know, I'd like to thank Niamh, who's on the call today, and just Niamh behind the scenes has been working so hard to make sure that this model is operational, is live, and is iterated in terms of the development process, and supporting the Skillnet getting this out into the market and getting people to get an understanding of it. To Liam and to Neo, you've worked on this for the past 12 months plus, and just to make sure that from a sort of an operational and implementation perspective, you're bringing the learnings that we've taken over this decade, and you're supporting companies, you know, step by step as they work through this journey. So that's really reassuring, I guess, for people on the call to know that we have that level of expertise and support available to you. And Therese as well, Therese, to yourself in SteriPack and SteriMed, a huge thank you for, you know, getting involved, for your commitment to implementing this in your own company, and for the feedback you've been giving to us that has continued to help us to make sure that this is best in class. A few other people that I do want to thank is Daryl Feely from LearnOpt, who have been working with us behind the scenes on the online platform and the cloud solutions, and taking into all of the you know, it's a very complex process getting all this migrated to the cloud. And Niamh mentioned as well the security and privacy considerations, and making sure that we have the best in class systems and protections in place for your organization as you work through this. So a huge thanks to Daryl, and then also to the MedTech and Engineering Advanced Manufacturing Working Group, who are heavily involved in the development of this over the past decade, as well as in the migration onto this new cloud-based product. And Adrian McDonald, who many of you will know, was very heavily involved in that. And Adrian isn't with us today, but I just want to make sure that we call Adrian out and recognise the work of the Advanced Manufacturing, or the Operational Excellence Working Group within the MedTech and Engineering and IBEC. And a name which came up a couple of times on the call is Cathal Riley from Teleflex, and some of his thinking and expertise back to that sharing of, you know, goodwill and IP, his strategic people-centric platform, and I think Anne flashed up on screen. If you haven't read it already, there's a fantastic position paper and thought leadership piece called On the Cusp of Enterprise Excellence report, and Cathal has produced that report, and it's available on the MÓR website, and I would really encourage you to get involved, or to read that down, or to save that down and have a read of it. And then it was mentioned earlier, Mike Farrell from West Pharma, Colm Shields from Boston Scientific, and there are just too many to name in terms of the people behind the scenes that have been supporting this process. And finally, to Anne, to your team, you've driven this through with tenacity and a determination that I have to take my hat off. It hasn't been an easy process with many stakeholders, many sets of technologies, and you've got it to a point today where we have a product that's available, it's ready, it's there to support the sector all across the country. So a huge thanks to Anne, to Niamh, and to the wider MedTech Skillnet team. And so look, that's it. I would just encourage everybody on the call today to get involved, you know, to follow the example of Therese and Cook Medical and others that have embarked on this journey, and just to, you know, the work has been done, the framework has been done, the heavy lifting has been done. All you need to do is take it, seize the opportunity, and I would encourage you to do so. So thanks to all of the attendees who came on the call today. I would really like to thank you for your time. And Anne, I don't know if you have any final words on follow-up, or what we'll be sending out maybe to attendees in terms of next steps.
We'll share the recording of today, and then if people would like to contact us, really, if you get onto the Irish MedTech Skillnet or MOR.ie, we're MorExcellence.ie, we're very happy to take any of those, of your questions or follow-up or confirmation on anything. But thanks to everyone today. This has been great, and my technology lasted for the rest of the meeting, so thanks everybody.